All right, in this deep dive, we're going to break down rational choice theory. My goal is to give you everything you need, the core concepts, so you can walk into your exam feeling confident.
So, here's our roadmap. We'll start with the basic theory, look at its different flavors, and then see how it actually helps us predict what happens in the real world of politics. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's start with the big one, rational choice theory. This is the bedrock for everything else we're going to talk about. It's an idea that came over from economics, and wow, has it become a powerful tool for understanding political science.
So what is it really? Well, at its heart, rational choice theory is deductive. That just means it starts with a big, logical assumption about how people should act, and then we go out and test if that's actually what happens.
For your exam, you absolutely need to know these 5 principles. They are the foundation of the whole thing. The main idea? It's that individuals, not big groups, are the ones making decisions. And they do it rationally to get the most benefit for themselves, what the theory calls maximizing their utility.
So when we say rational, what do we actually mean? Well, a key piece of the puzzle is something called transitivity. It sounds complicated, but it's simple. Your preferences have to be consistent. If you prefer A over B and B over C, then you have to prefer A over C. It makes sense, right? Without that logic, we couldn't predict anything.
Now here's where it gets interesting. Rational choice isn't just one single idea. It's more like a spectrum. So let's break down the different versions, going from the most general one to the most specific.
This image is super helpful. Here's the key thing to remember for your exam. Thin versions are really broad. They can apply to almost anything, but they don't give us strong predictions. Thick versions, on the other hand, are way more specific, which makes them much more powerful for making real, testable predictions.
So this is the thinnest version you can get. It basically just says, hey, whatever people do, that must have been the rational choice for them. See the problem? You can't prove it wrong. And if you can't prove something wrong, it's not very scientific.
And here's a perfect example. In this thinnest version, the very act of running for president is seen as proof that it was the rational move to try and become president. The action is its own justification.
Okay, moving a little thicker on our spectrum, we have the expected utility version. This one doesn't know what your goals are, but it does predict how you'll try to achieve them by weighing the costs and benefits. So it's more predictive, but still pretty general.
And here we go, our first thick version. This is a huge leap, because now we're making a specific prediction about the goal itself. It says that people are always chasing their own self-interest. Now that is a claim we can actually test, which makes it much more useful as a scientific theory.
Let's look at a classic example. This theory would predict that the country giving aid isn't just being nice. The real goal is self-interested, maybe to gain influence or goodwill, and giving aid is just the most efficient way to get there. It's a prediction we can actually go out and investigate.
And finally, we get to the thickest and honestly, the simplest version. This one boils everything down to a single, predictable goal for every action: making money. It's the easiest to test because the goal is always crystal clear. Maximize your wealth.
Okay, we've got the theory down. Now for the fun part. Let's apply it to actual politics. How can we use this to explain why political parties do what they do? Well, the median voter theorem gives us a really powerful answer.
The best way to get your head around this is to think about 2 ice cream sellers on a long beach. To get the most customers, they're not going to stay on opposite ends, are they? No, they're both going to inch their way toward the middle. In politics, the voters are the customers, and the beach is the political spectrum.
So the crucial takeaway is this. If we assume parties are just rational actors trying to get as many votes as possible, the theorem predicts they will both shift their platforms towards the political center. Why? To capture that all-important median voter who sits right in the middle.
All right, let's fast forward. The election's over. Now it's time to form a government. How do parties decide who to team up with? Well, rational choice gives us a really clear, almost mathematical prediction here, with the theory of minimal winning coalitions.
So, take a look at these election results. To form a government, a group needs 51 votes to get a majority. Now, the theory predicts that parties won't form some huge, oversized group. Why not? Because that means sharing power and jobs with more people than you have to.
Here is a super useful tip for your exam. The magic number is always half the total votes plus 1. So in this case, the rational move is to build the smallest possible coalition to hit that number. You want to share the prizes of power, like ministries and influence, with as few partners as possible. Here, parties A, B, G, and D get you exactly 51. Perfect.
Okay,
For our last section, let's dive into situations where your best move depends entirely on what someone else does. To model these kinds of strategic choices, we use something called game theory.
You've probably heard of this one. It's the most famous game in political science for a reason. Here's the paradox. The best outcome for the group is if both prisoners keep quiet. They'd each only get 1 year. But a rational, self-interested person will always confess. Because no matter what the other guy does, confessing gives you a better result. And that leads to a worse outcome for both of them.
Now, the chicken game is a bit different. Picture 2 cars racing toward each other. The absolute worst thing that can happen is if nobody swerves. So here, unlike the prisoner's dilemma, your best move is always to do the opposite of your opponent. There's no single best strategy.
And remember, for the full summary and practice tests, to really nail this stuff for your exam, you can visit gradeguru.nl. Before we wrap up, let's quickly hit the key takeaways for your exam. 1. Rational choice is all about individuals logically acting in their own self-interest. 2. Thick theories are better for making predictions than thin ones. 3. The median voter theorem shows why parties move to the political center. 4. Minimal winning coalitions are about getting just enough votes to win so you share less power. And 5. Game theory is how we model choices when everyone's decisions affect everyone else. Remember those 5 points and you're going to be in great shape.